Hello, everyone, and thanks for tuning in. Peter Crypt here with tonight's tale: an encounter with an old witch down a country road. So let's get to it. Visiting my cousin for the first time since she moved out of home was a happy adventure for me. She moved to the country and had a great view of the rolling mountains, not to mention the gardens and ferneries. We'd heard the spooky stories about a witch who'd apparently lived in a hut somewhere close by, but laughed it off. My cousin enjoyed herself, creeping me out and telling me how the witch had been killed by locals many years ago. Before I drove off, she couldn't help but taunt with me. "I hope you don't see her on the way home." I laughed as I pulled out of her driveway, but once I was on the road, my nerves got the better of me. It was dark and had started raining, so I was careful and drove a little slower than usual. After about 15 minutes, the rain began to pelt harder, and I nearly veered off the road when I saw something. Skidding to a stop, I turned and looked behind me. I froze when I saw a woman hunched down on the road. Even though there was something odd about her, I got out of the car and crept over to her, trembling in fear. I nearly fell backwards when she suddenly straightened up and disappeared in a flash of light. I decided not to stay a second longer and turned to race back to my car. I tripped over my own feet when I saw her. There she was, standing next to the door on the driver's side, hunched over again, but staring straight at me. I'll never forget that menacing look on her horrifying face. Even in the rain, I could see her large, glaring eyes. Then her mouth opened as she stood up again. With a piercing shriek, she lunged towards me. I braced myself and screamed, but once again she disappeared in a flash. The thunder and lightning had grown steadily, but I didn't want to wait around to test any theories. I ran to the car and got in, terrified for my life and fumbling for my keys. Once I finally got the car started and hit the headlights, I gasped when I saw her in front of the car. She was only a few feet away and seemed to be fading in and out like a projected flickering image. Barely breathing, I slammed my foot on the accelerator and fishtailed straight through her. As I drove, she seemed to disappear again, but I felt that horrible feeling on the back of my neck. I expected to see her in the rearview mirror, but she was gone. I kept driving in a blind panic. It wasn't until I got to the bottom of the mountain, a good 30 minutes later, when I stopped the car. I pulled out my cell and tried to call my cousin, but couldn't get through. When I arrived home, I got a hold of her and told her what happened. She freaked as her power had gone out. I still get a chill when I think of that night. I knew that she was the witch we'd talked about, and it's one of those scary experiences that I'll never shake off. Thanks for listening.